On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, we are going to break down another trade proposal that was proposed on social media by one of our sister shows, Locked On Senators. It's going to be an interesting one, so be sure to stay locked in.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlog right beside me. On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys were able to spend Father's Day with your fathers or the fathers who are out there. Hope you guys had a good day. It's always a nice holiday, but right here on Locked On Coyotes.
Also, a happy Juneteenth.
And happy Juneteenth as well. Absolutely.
And if you have off today, I hope you're enjoying the day off. I know I am.
Absolutely. Before we get started, though, I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available everywhere you get your shows. And I also want to let you guys all know that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's get going into today's episode, Carl. We have a pretty fun one to talk about because we did a trade proposal episode with that was a little over a couple weeks ago. Only a week ago. Wow, we're flying by fast here.
Flying, yeah.
Yeah, where the Locked On Leaf sent us one for Jacob Chychrun, but now we have another one, an interesting one set forth on social media by Locked On Senators. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to share it in just a moment. And here it is.
So definitely an interesting one.
It is different.
It is honestly a trade that I could see the Coyotes making last year, maybe not this year. For those listening, do you want to go through the details, though?
Yeah, so those who are listening, so the Senators are saying Arizona Coyotes will be sending over Nick Schmaltz and Colorado's first-round draft pick in this upcoming draft. So there will be either 31 or 32, depending on what happens in the Stanley Cup Final. And Arizona Coyotes will receive Nikita Zaitsev and their 2022 7th overall draft pick.
So I feel like the Sens podcast may have listened to the wish list we had, because I did say that the Coyotes need a veteran defenseman, and Zaitsev definitely fits that mold. He is an older player. He has a leadership role. He's an assistant captain with the with the Ottawa Senators. But for me, this one is it's too much. You either get Schmaltz or the pick. You don't get both.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? It's because I'm not sure what they're thinking with that part of having us. Like, I think someone said it perfectly, that if you're doing this deal, like, we can, like, we'd be willing to part with Nick Schmaltz. We can do this deal without the pick.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it a little more worth it. The only problem is Zaitsev is a little overpaid, but only a couple more years. So, like, I mean, that's been done before by the Coyotes, so that's not the biggest issue.
He's got 2 more years with a $4.5 million cap hit, modified no trade clause, submits a 10-team no trade list. Actual money he's making is 4.5. Got a $2 million signing bonus for each year, $2.5 million for the base. So it's not the worst deal, but like you said, I do think he is a bit overpaid. And the Coyotes really don't need to be giving up a player like Schmaltz and a pick to take your overpaid player.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
I do like the idea of getting that 7th overall pick, though. I mentioned to you off the air that is potentially Matthew Savoy, Gautier era and an area, and those are still pretty highly sought after prospects. And
Mm-hmm.
we mentioned, once you get past 6 or 7, like once you get past 6, it's a crapshoot. You can choose whatever the once you even get past 5, it's like whatever the hell happens is just like in a freaking arena. So is even acquiring this year's 7th overall pick worth it?
Yeah. Well, we did talk about the Coyotes potentially like trading up, which is definitely something I could see the team doing. And if that costs the Colorado either 31st or 32nd overall pick, that's a deal that we would make any day. Like trading up for a player that you really want to get. Like the Coyotes definitely have 3 picks in the first round, but they're going to be late. So yeah. But I don't know. Throwing in a player like Schmaltz, especially after the season he had, and taking an overpaid player back, that's just that's too much going to Ottawa for my liking. Like the Coyotes don't win this trade, in my opinion.
No, no, they don't. Especially because giving up Nick Schmaltz, you're gonna have to fill those shoes, and you're gonna have to look elsewhere. Because the Coyotes still need to fill a roster in
Mm-hmm.
which they still don't have right now. They don't have a full roster as the time of recording, so that's another issue.
Yeah, and I will say, like, one of the things that has been put out there is Jacob Chikrin was very frustrated by the fact that the team traded away Christian Dvorak, one of his close friends, and if the team trades Clayton Keller's like best line mate for his entire career, that's not good for Clayton Keller.
No.
That's not good
Mm-hmm.
for his what he thinks is the position of the team, especially if you're not bringing anything back. Like if the team was acquiring a player who's like going to play extremely well in the top line with Clayton Keller, someone who if he had chemistry with them at say we're talking about a different year, they played together at the Olympics or the World Championship, they had really good chemistry, sure. But that's not the case. They're acquiring a veteran defenseman and a pick that we know is not going to play next year.
Absolutely, absolutely. We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're going to discuss more about this trade, maybe kind of work something, like make some changes to see something that could work for the Coyotes and the Senators that would be equally beneficial to both, and a little bit more on today's episode. But first, we're going to go turn to Carl for a quick word.
So I have a message from our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your sports betting information and needs. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including betting, esports, and scores. Are you following the Stanley Cup playoffs? Do you think the Tampa Bay Lightning can come back and do a three-peat? Are you consistently betting the over on all of the games? Because that seems very prudent. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check all your favorite sports and events. So definitely the place to go if you want hockey or things like MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right. We also have a important favor to ask you guys. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you that make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcast. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everybody that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. So once again, to take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks everyone for your help. Now, Carl, there was a lot of back and forth on this conversation because they tagged Locked On Coyotes. The Locked On Senators tagged Locked On Coyotes on a Twitter conversation. I retweeted it, and it ended up garnering a lot of attention. Senators fans, I have no idea what's in the water in Ottawa or something, but they're like, we don't take this deal. Like, this is not worth it for Nick Schmaltz. Like, we want Clayton Keller instead. And I just laughed at that. I'm just like,
yeah. Again, this would be a good trade for someone who was living a year ago, or someone who didn't watch the Coyotes this season, who didn't see that both Keller and Schmaltz had really good bounce back seasons. Keller especially, Schmaltz a little bit less, although he definitely had a bounce back. He was hurt for a little bit, so you can expect his numbers to come down, but he is becoming like a really good player. And the 7th overall pick, we just had multiple like prospect development people come on the show and say like, yeah, like after 5, it's kind of a crapshoot. And I can understand wanting to trade up. Like I've said in the previous segment, I think the Coyotes may want to do that if there's a player that they absolutely want. But going for 7th, it's not really like a prize there. This seems more like a trade that would be made like at like the like one of those kind of like there's a team pause because they take a call last minute. And I don't think Schmaltz is involved in that kind of trade.
Yeah. And like I said, 7th overall is like Matthew Savoy Cutter-Gauthier territory, but even then, like they're both potentially very talented, potentially very good NHLers. Is it worth? But I do not think that either of those players are worth giving up Nick Schmaltz for.
Yeah, definitely not Nick Schmaltz. If it was just Nick Schmaltz and no pick, would you do it?
I'd consider it. I would definitely consider it because let's put it. I will put it this way: is you're getting a player and a top 10 pick for Nick Schmaltz. That's a lot of value. I don't think Nick I think that's a little bit of an overvaluation for Nick Schmaltz on that case if you do it without that pick. But I would definitely heavily consider that.
Yeah. And I mean, there wasn't too long ago that we were talking about, the team potentially trading Nick Schmaltz.
Yeah.
And, it's a rebuild. Everyone could be traded. That's, not something where like you should be attached to any Coyote player right now. Like anyone can go if it's going to increase like the speed of the rebuild. And that's what it kind of comes down to for me. Does this increase the time it takes for the Coyotes to be competitive? Does it take a 5-year rebuild down to 4 or down to 3 even? And the answer is no. This does not quicken the Coyotes rebuild too much.
No, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, maybe let's put it this way, and I think you just mentioned the pause thing, right? There might be a pause, like a timeout and something like that.
Yeah.
And trade made, and this kind of trade, similar trade, is made at the very last minute. Maybe if, let's say, somehow, I don't say this is going to happen, but David Jiricek or Simon Nemec falls down to 7, or even Matthew Savoy again. Like I said, like he's a potential person that could get to 7, but like it's another thing. Like if the Coyotes value those players high at any point, do they be like, hold on, I don't think that these players will fall anymore, and I think their value is right where it should be. Let's take this deal.
Yeah,
that's a potential situation. Is it going to happen? I think it's very unlikely, but it is possible.
I mean, I could see this deal being made for like the Colorado pick and the Carolina pick,
Both
or
picks.
yeah,
Yeah.
like two kind of like late first rounders for a seventh, maybe throw in a second for that kind of, like a little bit of spice in there. Throw in a player, but not a Nick Schmaltz. Like
Yeah, not
that
in it.
that's kind of like also I'm curious, like why do the Senators want Nick Schmaltz? Like
Do they
it
think they're gonna be competing anytime soon, or
yeah, like he's not a number one center. He is a good wing, and I do think he played really well, but it doesn't fit with any kind of time frame for what they're doing.
and
Like,
here's the other thing too is in my eyes, because I don't think if it, number one, I agree with you, it doesn't fit with the time frame. Number two, based off the understanding from the Twitter thread about this from Senators fans and Senators and Locked On Senators listeners, is they're like, so like you're doing like um making a deal like this just for a cap dump. So they viewed Zaitsev as a cap dump.
mhm.
Obviously, because at that dollar value, it might make sense. Like, but why?
Yeah, it's not like a major kind of move. It's not the Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman Larson for a bunch of players and, the Dylan Gunther pick. It's not that. It's like it's acquiring a good player and there's like cap dump in there. Like that's why I said this seems like a deal that definitely benefits the Ottawa Senators more than the Coyotes.
I do
Like
think the Coyotes could benefit in another way too. On this case, is if you look at it in the sense that um, there is a high likelihood that Jacob Chicken gets traded.
mhm.
There is a decent likelihood that, I mean, who knows, a very severe question mark of, does Anton Strawman get re-signed? We're
Yeah.
talking about getting severely lacking in defense, and you mentioned, getting a like earlier in the show, getting a veteran defenseman to kind of help, help come in. That does fill a need for the Coyotes. Um,
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think the team has a place for Zaitsev. I just like this deal doesn't seem to like really benefit the team in any kind of substantial way.
Yeah, it it is, and I think, and it does go back to, you can have one or the other
Yeah.
situation, right? Well, if we're giving them Colorado's pick, you add an extra bit in there, just kind of make things a little bit more even, because that, if you just give the first overall pick, I mean that mean the first round, the Colorado's first round pick, 31, it's 31 or 32, but still, I still think that value is like the Coyotes would easily win in that situation if it's just that. Um,
Yeah.
so like we'd have to make it a little more fair. Nick
Yeah.
Schmaltz adding Nick Schmaltz tilts the scale more in the, like, it's just like, I don't want to take that. I don't think I want to.
Yeah, because Schmaltz had a really good season. For a while, he looked like he was not living up to his contract, although he was getting paid like really pretty fairly.
Hmm.
If he wasn't hurt, if Keller and him had like a true number one center, then I think that they could be like really good players. Like Schmaltz, how many points did he have this last year?
Ooh, um, I should have it in front of me, but I don't.
Pulling it up right now. In 63 games, Schmaltz had 23 goals, 36 assists for 59 points. Over a full season, I could easily see Schmaltz being an 80-point player. Like, that's not unrealistic for a player who just needed to do 19 more games, another 11 points. And, I don't see him taking a big step back. He's
Right.
26. He's still in his prime. And how much of that is because he was playing with Clayton Keller? Probably a lot. But
Yeah.
he also has really good chemistry with Clayton Keller. And
Exactly.
again, trading him is going to piss off Clayton Keller.
Oh
And
yeah.
you don't want to do that.
Oh yeah. That's for sure. I mean, just like how some of the trades this last offseason pissed off some other current players.
Yeah.
Uh, so
It is definitely like a balancing act. Like the Coyotes need to be looking at, how good are they as a team, and like what moves can they make without really messing with the chemistry. And this seems like a move that is going to mess with the chemistry for not a great return, unless someone like crazy is available at 7th overall. Like, and that could theoretically happen. Like, this could be a situation where the Coyotes absolutely want the person at 7th. They're going to do whatever it
yeah.
takes to get that pick. But this doesn't seem like the move that I would see them making.
No, I don't think. I don't think it's a move they would make. Um, Again, I do see them moving up. Like you said, I do see them moving up in the draft, get another higher pick. Um, just not with this trade specifically. Just not this deal.
What if Ottawa threw in 2 first-round picks? Like, so they're 2023. Do they have a 2023 pick?
What if they gave us, I mean, like in difference, their 2023 first over like a first pick that's not lottery protected.
Yes. I would say that the Coyotes should absolutely ask for not lottery protected. They do have a first round pick in 2023. So this same deal, except for it's the 2022 7th overall pick and a non lottery protected Ottawa 2023 pick. Does that make it more interesting for you?
That does actually make it more interesting. I don't think the Senators would take that deal.
Yeah.
I don't think they value Nick Schmaltz that high.
But if you're acquiring 26-year-old Nick Schmaltz, do you anticipate that pick being like low?
That's a good question. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different moving parts to this, and it's and I'm glad that we're able to just put this one out discussion because like I think this one, like unlike the last one, like it's like I don't know what else we can change to make it worth it in our case. And this one is like, okay, there are things we can change, and we have to think but we do think in our heads like, okay, does this work? Is the valuation equal? And I think each time we do a change, it goes like this, or like it goes like the scale is going to be tipped in one way.
Yeah. But I mean, with every trade, like ideally there is a winner and a loser.
Well,
And
I mean, the ideal situation of a trade is that it works in the interest of both parties.
all right,
Ideal,
so,
completely 100% ideal. That does it happen all the time? Absolutely not. That is extremely rare.
I mean, I think Sun Tzu would have you say, like, the Coyotes are competing against the Ottawa Senators. They should come ahead in every trade, at
Well,
least strive to.
Bill Armstrong is proven to be able to do shit like that.
Yes, yes, he is. But I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, I, yeah, this deal, I think it's a little bit better than the Chikrin, but I just don't really understand it. I don't see Schmaltz being a player that the Senators would really like
Mm-hmm.
properly utilize. I don't see them making this kind of deal. If they're looking to dump cap, then they can dump cap. We can make that trade.
Yeah.
And the Coyotes are absolutely open to a cap dump trade.
But
And I
trading
think
Nick Schmaltz away for a cap dump trade, I just cannot see happening ever.
yeah, yeah, like someone's got to sweeten the pot. And it should, I think, be Ottawa for this one. It's an interesting one. I think we had there are things that we can build off of. It's a good starting point, but yeah, it's not exactly the strongest one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there are things that can be made, and like I said, that some Senators fans are also like you could tell how crazy some of them are. And when they like I said earlier, when they said they wanted Clayton Keller instead of Nick Schmaltz in this deal, and again, like I said, I laughed in their face because I'm like, like Keller is like off the market mostly. Like if you did something else that's like absolutely insane, yeah, we might have to not say no, but like,
Yeah,
but to swap Schmaltz for Keller in this trade, I just had to completely laugh again because like I don't know what's in the water or something like that because that's what.
yeah, absolutely. Like Keller would be a no go. Schmaltz is not a no go, but it's a mostly no go.
It's like
We are.
it's like, is this worth it? Is this truly going to be worth it? Going to help the rebuild in the end? In the end, I do not think this trade will benefit the rebuild.
Yeah, I would agree. I would absolutely agree.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts you want to do before we close things off?
Um. Uh. No, not really. I look forward to the Coyotes acquiring Zaitsev in a different trade. But like I said, I think he is a good potential fit, a good player that the Coyotes should maybe look to acquire, but not this case.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Not in this specific deal, but we can make a deal with Ottawa if they want to get rid of Zaitsev's contract, and I mean, we take him. If he can, I could see him fit with the Coyotes easily.
Yeah.
It just has to take like you said, like we've been saying, it just has to be a different deal, just not this one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Anyways, though, that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On Coyotes, on Instagram at Locked On Coyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano, but with a Y, Robyn with the Y _Leano. Carl Pavlock is Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask the question you might have. We might answer them right back on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And, of course, cool, because it is hot. And don't forget to howl on.